Hello, everyone. Welcome to Thursday's Snap Take. We're going live a little early today because there should be an over the air update buffing a few cards later. I'm Glazer of the Snap Judgments podcast, and before we go any further, like and subscribe for the best Marvel Snap Takes every weekday. We're doing a giveaway. If you're still looking for a Hit Monkey, I'll be announcing that in 1 minute. I just want everyone here to know that over on SnapFan, Snap Judgments is the official SnapFan podcast. Over on SnapFan, we have their first tier list, their April tier list. Please make sure you go to SnapFan and check that out. Once you do, if you'd like to hear how that tier list was made, we did a 2.5 hour podcast where we break down 26 different decks. The show notes have links to all the most interesting deck builds, including the ones we're going to talk about today. All right, the season pass giveaway is happening tomorrow. All you have to do is go onto Friday's video and tell me in the comments which your favorite update is or what update you'd really like to see going forward. There's a chance they hit the update you really wanted tomorrow, later today. So if they did that, you can just let me know. If I agree, anyone I agree with is going to be put into a pool. So there's only going to be like 4 or 5 entries here. So you have a really good chance of winning that season pass. All you have to do is leave that comment on tomorrow's video and make sure you're subscribed. If you're not subscribed, you're not actually entered. But as long as you're subscribed and you leave that comment, you're in. All good? Good. Now, Jeff Hoogland created a really cool deck. I know he's controversial, but he created a really, really, really cool She-Hulk Hitmonkey deck. This deck appears to not be quite as powerful as the Sarah list because, well, Sarah's kind of OP. But this deck has a lot of cool play, wherein you've got the little bounce package where you can play all the one drops and hit monkey and bounce them back to your hand. Um, Ideally, you're doing this with Beast on the board to gain a bunch of power. You can copy all your cheap things, including hopefully a skipping 5 1 power She Hulk, and then have a monster final turn where you play everything in Hit Monkey or a couple She Hulks in Hit Monkey. It's a very, very, very powerful combo. This obviously makes perfect sense. All these cards synergize really well. The tension in the deck is on turn 4. You have to choose between beasting up a bunch of things or figuring out what's in your hand and moon girling and then skipping 5 to see if that's a better play. Very often you're skipping 5 either way, so Sunspot, promise it's a 1-0 now, but so Sunspot is really, really good in the deck. If we scroll down a little bit over on SnapFan, we'll see our friend Homeboy Maxwell hit infinite with this deck in 1 day. This deck is crazy strong. Weak into Galactus, weak into Sandman, obviously. But outside of those two matchups, this is a crazy strong deck. All right. Another friend of ours, Safety Blade, had an awesome idea. Sauron is down to pool 4, and given the nerfs to Red Skull, there's not really many reasons to play him anymore. Well, Safety Blade took that Hoogland idea and basically came up with a way to ensure that it works really well in concert with that idea. The idea here, Moon Girl is much more important than she is in the other deck, but Moon Girl or Sauron will do. If you get both, you're really, really going to town. The idea is that you get whatever you need out early, right? On 3 or 4, depending on if you have Moon Girl. On 3 or 4, you Sauron, and that unlocks Ebony Maw and Lizard. At that point, if you do that on 3, then Moon Girl on 4, you've got two 1/7s, potentially two 1/5s, two 2/5s that all work really, really well. If you skip 5, now you've got that 2, hopefully, She Hulks. All of these cards synergize. Let's go over some of the synergies. So what Yellow Jacket does is 2 things. One, he's a decent little 0 target, right? The 0 targets are Titania, Maw, Yellow Jacket, and Lizard. They're all perfectly acceptable things to do with Yellow Jacket, no big deal. Yellow Jacket is also decent if you've got an empty lane and you want to get down a Hit Monkey. He's just an extra play for Hit Monkey. All of that has value, right? Great. The other big use is sometimes it's really hard to like play Moon Girl and get it to copy exactly what you want. If you've got an early Yellow Jacket, though, you can hold it in hand and play it when you want to Moon Girl. It assuming that you don't want the duped Yellow Jacket, obviously. And then you've got a duplicate of any other of the cards, and literally like every other card in the deck is a better thing to duplicate than Yellow Jacket, except perhaps Sunspot and Sauron. So you can choose to get duplicates of the more powerful cards in the deck by having that 0 cost to play when you need it in one of those first few spots of your hand. Sunspot is here specifically because you're often skipping turn 5 to She-Hulk. If you're skipping turn 5, Sunspot is a 1/5, even if you're spending all your energy every other turn. 1/5 is phenomenal. Obviously, that's the same stats as Titania. Great play, worth having in the deck. I believe Safety had Angela here. I don't like Angela as much as Sunspot. I'd rather just soak for the extra energy. Titania is great with 0, obviously, but also you're basically playing super little that's staying on the board early besides Bishop and Moon Girl, so you're very unlikely to have priority. That means Titania is very often your play at the end of the game when you no longer have priority. That's a 1/5 with no downside. Maw is the only card in this deck that can ever actually be dead, right? I guess Sauron could technically be dead if you draw it late enough, but it's unlikely. Ebony Maw could be dead because you're only really playing with 0 or Sauron, otherwise you're just ignoring the card. However, a 1/7 is such a crazy rate. That's 2 power less than She-Hulk for one with very little extra work. All you have to do is play Sauron. Sauron's pool 4. This and Lizard make Sauron worth it in the deck. And I was skeptical at first. I was like, cool, Sauron's the one pool 5 I actually pulled from a cache. So when I did, I was like, whatever. I played him in some Red Skull things at first, just because he's who I pulled, and then he sat on the sidelines for, I don't know, 2 months now. So now that he's pool 4, series 4, more people have him. This gives you a chance with Maw being so good in this deck. Lizard's also quite good in the deck, not as good as Maw. The difference between 1 and 2 is an absolute ton here. So, but it's still perfectly fine. It's also decent because, like, if you Sauron but you don't have Moon Girl, you can just Lizard and something else on 4 just fine. At that point, he's a 2/5 that's never stopping being a 2/5. That remains the best rate, sort of any 2-drop in the game. Mysterio can beat him a couple different ways, and I guess so can Angela, but Angela's not here, and Angela could not beat him in this deck. Um, Bishop benefits because you're playing 1,000 little cards. You play all those little cards. Bishop ends up a 3/7, 3/8, 3/9. Super powerful. Mysterio obviously synergizes with Bishop and synergizes with Hitmonkey. We don't have Bast here because She-Hulk seems important. So do Maw and Titania. Losing their strength is bad. But that 2/4 from Mysterio is 4 power, and alone with Hitmonkey is 6. So that's 10 power for 4. That is a Typhoid Mary. That is a Sentry. That is an Atuma play, right? And we're assuming you can play something else. If you can play a couple ones at the same time, we are in business. In addition, Mysterio is going to give 3 extra power to Bishop. If you didn't know that synergy, it is like Mysterio is my most wanted card forever when I was sitting there trying to complete pool 3 because I love Sarah decks. And Bishop is one of my favorite cards in those decks, and Mysterio and Bishop are the chocolate and peanut butter of this game. Now Mysterio, Bishop, and Hitmonkey are the chocolate and peanut butter of this game, which is really cool. And obviously, the last card that's of real value here is Moon Girl. Moon Girl double She-Hulk is one of the strongest things you can be doing in the game. It dies to Sandman, and it's really strong into basically everything else. This deck is weak to Galactus, right? But it's not impossible to win, especially if you've got Moon Girl. You skip 5 when they Galactus. You've killed very little, very low power of your stuff. You can drop, perhaps, for example, She-Hulk, She-Hulk, Maw, Maw for 18 plus 14, 32 power in that lane on the last turn of the game. That kind of power output is hard for even a null to beat unless because of how little power you've been putting out in the earlier portions of the game. This deck is sweet and awesome. Try it out. You're going to be really happy you did. That's Snap Take for Thursday. Tomorrow we're going to review the newly, hopefully, assuming that they were accurate in their claims, the newly patched cards, the newly updated over-the-air cards. Thank you, Safety Blade, for this awesome deck and awesome idea and allowing me to do a video on it. Please don't forget the giveaway. All you have to do is comment on tomorrow's video what you'd like to see over the air updated. See you then. Don't forget to check out SnapFan and keep on snapping.